Yes, hello and welcome to another Searchmetrics webinar. Today we are going to present you persona-based content from an SEO perspective, and actually it's an analysis based on a use case we had with one of our clients. And it was so good that we thought to make a webinar out of it. So here we go, and welcome again. My name is Björn. I'm the Director of Digital Strategies Group here at Searchmetrics, and
my name is Felix. I'm Senior SEO Consultant here in Digital Strategies Group.
Yes, and we work together since a long time now, and Felix was actually the guy who, the consultant who did the analysis for the client, which you will see later on. Just a few words to the Searchmetrics Digital Strategies Group. It's an integrated consultancy here at Searchmetrics, so meaning that we are offering consultancy to our Searchmetrics software clients. Mainly it's a strategic consulting, which we do, SEO consulting, of course, and content marketing services, where we can create really nice campaigns for you and help you, of course, on the technical SEO side. Just to mention a few clients we already have: eBay, bodybuilding.com, and others, from e-commerce over to publishing and lead generation. Everything is in the bucket. To today's agenda, we will just quickly cover how to find your top of funnel and show you some examples of the mobile phone industry, which you and the team did. And we will show you how to create those personas and the user journey for every persona. And at the end, we will just show you some examples and ideas how to create content around the personas. Let us just start with the sales funnel, and especially the top of funnel, because it's really, really important just to have it in mind for the later presentation. So the normal sales funnel, as you can see, is out of a top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. And top of funnel is mostly, keywords and research related, actually research related search, where people are interested in, comparing products or getting prices or, whatever. And middle of funnel is then always like, okay, now as I know what I really want, I want to buy an iPhone or I want to buy a coffee machine. And bottom of funnel is always like if you, need an insurance or, have some accessories for it, which is related to the product you just bought in the middle of funnel. And if you're interested in it, there was a whole webinar about the sales funnel, and it's called the ROI guarantee for your content. You can look it up on YouTube. So Svetlana and myself did it the other month, and it was a really good webinar. So check it out on YouTube. But let's come to the awesome analysis you just prepared, Felix.
Yeah. So we take an example of a persona map for a mobile phone market in this case. There's three main categories basically in this market. So for people who's looking for a phone without a contract, of course, combination with phone with contract, and people who's also looking for like SIM only, basically.
So these are actually the markets or the demands you...
Exactly, that's like the most general demands in this industry. And top of funnel, as you mentioned before, for people who doesn't really know specifically what you want, so a lot of research, comparisons. So for instance, here you can, one of the examples, iPhone X review, or, comparing between the top end phones, basically. And then come the middle of funnel when, after all this research, he's already, or he should already make up his mind to a specific product or specific, combinations basically for a product. Mm-hmm. Then after that, you have the bottom of funnel, where basically you try to retain the customer within your website. Mm-hmm. So as a more complex example out of it, you have first touch point, which is the brand awareness. So a lot of brands are doing promotions. Then, inside of these mappings, you have a lot of combinations basically. So you try to put them or categorize them, and later on you try to make like combinations out of it and try to, come out with, okay, what kind of persona is this kind of person, and based on that, you tailor that content, like specifically targeting those target groups.
So, and this is still like related to the top of funnel, right?
Exactly.
Which, on the other hand, conversion and then everything around loyalty, like iPhone cases, insurance, will be the bottom of funnel.
Exactly. So, for instance, in the first part on the really left side, you have income. For instance, you have people who's high income, medium, or low. Then you have people looking for phones or any product within like some price range, basically. Then you have people specifically looking for specific features from a phone. So if you're a photographer, for instance, you want a phone that's having good cameras. Or if you're an outdoor people, you want to have a phone which can basically, you can take this phone out with you without worrying about rain or water or humidity. For
all the adventurous, right?
Exactly. Then on SIM card side, you have special features from SIM card, like people who's looking for data only, or unlimited calls, unlimited internet, or someone who's only looking for pay-as-you-go or prepaid card. And in the middle, of course, like based on all of this, a lot of reviews, tests, comparison, best deals, and along the way you can also find like specific niche or target groups. For instance, people like business people, elderly people, unemployed, students. So a lot of variations you can do basically. And later on we'll explain to you, how you can come up with these mappings basically, and how to create a content.
So this is actually the end result of the analysis we will going to show the viewers now. It's just to show us an example and put it along the sales funnel, how this can look like. So before we now really start to show you how to get to those mapping, I just want to mention this webinar will be approximately 30 to 40 minutes. If you have any questions in between, just put your questions to the team chat, into the chat window, and our colleague here together with us in the room will write those questions down and hand it over at the end of the webinar to us so that we can do this Q&A session. So, okay. Good, and let's start. How to get to those mappings.
Exactly. So as you see before, there's 3 main categories: so mobile phones and SIM only. So what you can do in the very beginning is to key in one of the main keyword, in this case mobile phone, and you sort them out basically based on search volume and go through the list and see what kind of topic you can find out of this list, and basically try to compile those lists, like keep them somewhere, take a note, where you can later, do a deeper research within this specific categories. So, for instance, people looking for deals, insurances, contracts, anything related to prices. Like within the prices, you can also see, certain price range. For instance, phones under £200 or between 200 to 500 or above.
So you're actually looking for specific patterns in the keywords.
Exactly.
And as we can see, all of them have pretty decent search volume, right?
Yeah. So this is, I would say, the main topic or the shorthand topic within mobile phones. And based on this, you can later on structure them, group them together, and you can make a decision based on what kind of goals you have in your website and try to tailor the content and the user journey based on this research.
Now, as you found those patterns, I guess it's very useful to filter it, right?
So for instance, in the Research Cloud, you can first key in your main keywords, and based on this research before, you can also filter them out basically and get even more list of keywords based on the topics. And after you did all of this, then you can cluster basically all of these keywords. So the list goes on and on, but here we show an example like 5 biggest keywords based on each clusters. So then you can also get some ideas from Google suggestions, basically. So here, interesting thing, a lot of students or 17, 18 years old looking for contract phones, and some even looking for bad credit, blacklisted. So key that keywords back in the filter, check the search volume, and check if it is worth it to target this kind of content. If you see, for instance, there's low competition, nobody else is having this kind of offer, then maybe you can come up with something to target this person.
And also, if you search for related phrases, you always see that people have specific needs like upfront costs or credit checks or pay monthly, or even want to have free gifts. Yeah. Oh, we love free gifts, right?
Exactly.
So always offer some free gifts as well. But yeah.
So for example of the specific or target groups, you can key them back in. And for instance, this one, like elderly. So a lot of elderly people are looking also for phones. And if I think it's really niche market and not so much website is creating this kind of content, so you can basically make a decision based on what goal you have and target this specific person.
Okay, so now you did the research, you clustered everything, you tried to come up with some special groups of people who are searching for special contracts and offers. And now it's the part after the research to group everything, right?
Exactly. So the next part is to group on this all of this research of keywords you did already. So for instance, if the goal is to sell mobile phone in your website, then if you check the top of funnels, basically a lot of people is looking for deals. So that's the one with the high search volume based on this category, mobile phone. Then you have people comparing the prices or even getting, like sorted out like the phones on certain price range, or people also looking for a lot of comparison, review, tests. Basically, they want to get the best out of their budget.
And you already mentioned it. This all these deals, comparison prices, still the top of funnel, right?
So these are your main top of funnels.
They haven't done a decision now on a product. They just want to review and inform themselves about.
So, and you have features, specific features within the phone. You have the special groups. And later stage at the bottom of funnel, you can also target them to funnel them into phone cases, accessories, repairs. So basically try to keep them still within your environment.
Yeah, and I think it's really important, as you did it here, is to group it by the funnel stages and group those topics so that you know when to target which topic and which area of a buyer flow or decision flow.
Yeah.
Right.
So interesting thing is we see like still a lot of websites are lacking this top of funnel. So they only targeting, for instance, transactional keywords like buy certain product of phones, and they forget about this top of funnel, but the search volume for this and the traffic potential you can get from this top of funnel is really much more.
Yeah, and I mean, we can do the same with the SIM-only contract market. So first focus on best deals, price.
Same case here, you have, comparison, best deals, prices, and later stage of people also looking for features, for instance, and also like special groups. And same like mobile phones, these three comparison, best deals, and prices are your main top of funnel.
Okay, so deals, comparison, prices are your top of funnel, and they have actually the biggest potential. Not many of those big, mobile phone companies you analyze actually covering, right? They just give it away to magazine, forums, blogs, and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
Okay, so in the first section, we just learned to, how to do the keyword research, download it, filter it, and cluster it, and then group it so that you have different, within the buyer flow, within the sales funnel, have different, content ideas and,
Exactly.
and
From this
offerings.
grouping, basically, you just try to come up with the mappings. So this mapping, we just show, the simplest form of it. You can go even, further within it. And if you go to the user journey by persona, so we try to give some examples, so you have a clearer mind, like what kind of thing we're talking about.
So we are still on the user map, persona map we showed you in the beginning, along the sales funnel, which you see on the left. The funnel should just, be the sales funnel, and now come up with the user journey just based on one persona, right?
Yeah.
And this is...
So for the first example, for instance, we try to, go deeper, more targeted. So for people who's only looking for SIM-only contracts with high or medium income, and he's working, as a business or as a entrepreneur, and he's looking for specific features, which is unlimited calls and data, or maybe international calls as well.
So out of this, you can then create your persona, which is, as you just mentioned, the business worker with mid to high income and is looking for SIM only, right?
So the user intent for this case is SIM only for business contract. So as a website, your first goal is to, of course, show the persona like a SIM only contract landing page, but you can also try to convert him basically to other environment of your website. In this case, you can try to offer them business smartphone with contract, or even on top sell additional service out of it. So this is what we still see missing in a lot of websites. So the journey basically only stops until the user intent, and it doesn't go further. Yeah.
So there's no retention actually on the landing page given.
Yeah. Exactly. So like in this case, the landing page will be informational content about the SIM only contract for business, because we're targeting like business user. But then, it's nice to have this bridge as well to this other environment that I mentioned before. So try to create information content about business phone contract, maybe, some persuasive content about how can you utilize smartphone for your business, and try to lure him basically to the other environment.
Well, that's interesting. Let's jump into how you create actually the bridge from one landing page to another.
So here these are the queries that leads the persona basically to the SIM only contract. So it's looking specifically for best business deals, comparing a lot of prices as well in the market, and he end up in the SIM only contract, right? Then in this case, the challenge is how you can bridge this persona basically to phone with contract. So for instance, you can try to offer some content about utilizing smartphones for your business. Then on top, maybe try to persuade this user, basically telling, if you buy this SIM only contract and you're at, a little bit on top per month, you basically get a business phone, for instance.
Yeah. So, and what you're seeing from your analysis, that all of the major, phone providers are missing those, connection to other offers and stuff.
Exactly. So instead of creating another landing page and link them to another landing page, you can also put some trailers within the same content basically, and try to persuade and bring this user like even further within your user journey.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Let's jump to the next market or persona.
Yeah. So now in the next example, we're trying to give you example like totally the opposite. So people who's looking for a phone basically, and how to bridge this user to the other environment, in this case to phone with contract or to SIM. So the persona is any customer with good income looking for the latest and the greatest mobile phone basically. So he's or she's most probably in the end stage of the contract, or even not even having a contract contract at all, but try to look for, the latest phone to the old phone. And the user intent here is to buy the latest release high-end mobile phone.
So people who just bought an iPhone, 9 a half year ago now want to have the X.
Exactly. So I think there's a specific group of people who's always, buy the latest release of phone. If, for instance, Apple released iPhone 11, so he always wanted to get the best, basically. And your first goal is to sell these high-end mobile phones. And on top, you can also, bridge this persona basically to a phone with contract environment. So make this offer more affordable for him. So instead of, paying £1,000, so you try to persuade him, okay, you can pay, 50, 35 pound per month and make the offer more affordable. Mm-hmm. And then on top, since he or she already, buying like really expensive phone, so of course you want to have some insurance in case it's broken or gets stolen. So in this case, the bridge here is some informational content about latest phone release, and on top, try to lead him basically to a better deal. In this case, like the contract itself, make it more affordable for the user. And you can even expand this persona further. So for instance, you can even add on top, this kind of persona for people who's interested more on design and fashion. So you can create a separate, like really targeted content for that kind of persona. For people, for instance, who's really interested in gadget and technology.
Yeah, so you would actually, distinguish landing page and, one landing page for the one who's more interested in gadget and technology with more facts. What is the focus on the camera, how many storage, how's the memory and stuff.
Exactly.
Whereas on the other hand, you just, it's a nice pink iPhone with, glitter on it, and you know what I mean.
Something like that. Or you can show as well, in this specific industry, like how can you utilize your high-end phones basically to help your work.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump into the bridging again, just to make it more understandable.
Yeah. So here's the queries for people who's looking for high-end phones. So basically comparing the best two phones in the market today, best phone combination with years. And, from here, you try to bridge this persona basically to another environment of your website. So instead of only, showing him, okay, here's the fact of the two phones, try to, persuade him to, basically offer him like a phone contract, which is the best solution, basically best answers for the user. Mm-hmm. And we see, through our research, a lot of magazine websites, so they only kind of offer, like give you review comparison, then the journey ends there. Basically.
Yeah. And I see this also from many blogs, technology blogs, when they write about, specification of a mobile phone, so they could easily like generate leads for insurances, so make some additional money out of it, right? And it's missing. Yeah. So there's potential improvement from comparison pages or companies who already have the product, but they are not really answering what the user wants.
Exactly.
So analyzing and answering, user demand and questions, and, focusing more on the needs of each persona would actually be more successful.
Exactly. So for instance, if you're only answering users by, copy pasting text specs from the company's brand, mm-hmm. and not even, giving user what he wants.
So, but let's jump into how to give the user what he wants. Let's jump straight into how to create the content. And I think you're going to present some ideas, how to just come up with some content ideas.
Exactly. So one of the example we take is, for instance, a mobile phone insurance. Here in the SERPs, you can see like a lot of ads, a lot of competition, basically. But interesting thing is you see like a direct answers box there. Mm-hmm. And after direct answers block, you also see, people also ask, meaning that you can clearly see here a lot of people doing research for informational queries. So if as a website, you're only targeting these transactional queries, which is in the middle of the funnel, then you're missing a lot, basically.
Yeah. It actually shows that Google already comes up for such a competitive, keyword. Of course, comes up with a lot of ads that shows clearly what. But at the other hand, it shows because Google is very after user intent and satisfying the user for his search. And if Google comes up with comparison and direct answers for people also ask, so it actually shows that this topic is a highly informational rather than transactional topic, right?
Because as you see before, if you still not sure what you want, most probably you'll be looking for a lot of comparison reviews and tests, right?
Yeah.
And so the challenge as a website is, how can you really give the best answers for these kind of users and keep them within your website and try to offer as much possibilities as possible within your environment.
And it's also interesting that you found out that the first really organic position is rather a comparison website. And the first actually, provider of an insurance is ranking on the second page of Google at position 11, right?
Exactly.
So which actually shows that, when you want to, cover the top of funnel, you should, move away from just be transactional or try to, trigger conversion in the first instance, but rather, give the user some information and informational content and, help him to make up the mind.
Exactly. So, for instance, when we take a look on these two results, we key that in back to the content experience suite. If you're checking only the keyword coverage, here you have, the must-have keywords within the topic. So we can see here, even the first result can still be, optimized further. And especially on the second, insurance brand, you can see they're not really covering, the must-have keywords, for instance, not really answering basically the best answers for the user.
So the first result we will just mention, the comparison website, Go Compare, has a keyword coverage of 57%. So meaning that the tool we took from our very own content experience, is analyzing all, the content and websites based for the specific keyword, and then comes up with a specific set of keywords you should cover. And the first result covers 57%, and the first actually provider covers just less than the half, 24%, right?
So, and when you check the content score, it checks also, how many word counts you have in the competition. I mean, we clearly see here, for instance, even for the first result, they're not really optimizing or updating the content itself. So imagine as a user, when you have like high-end phones, which costs maybe more than £500, of course, you are looking for phone insurances, right? And if you're typing a long tail keywords, for instance, mobile phone insurance for, iPhone X or Samsung Galaxy 9, in this case, the first result is not really having those kind of content combination in the website. So they're only focusing on selling mobile insurances without even, having the high-end latest phone for this year, for instance, in the content.
And when we when we always say and always mention that user intention and questions should be answered, there are enough tools to analyze what people ask Google specific for some particular keywords. So this is actually something you really need to look at, the how-to questions, and then giving answers within the content. And there will be another webinar at the end of this month with Malte Landwehr together with Izzy Smith, where they look into featured snippets and how to come up in the featured snippet and answer box. So they will cover all of this, but actually the point is, you should definitely look when creating content on the user's questions here.
To sum up, though it's not their main business, we can clearly see as a big brand, even they already have the content there. so they can improve their current content on the insurance page and basically answers a better answer for user.
Okay, so then you have another example actually.
Yeah, here's like another example, like remember when we showed the top of funnels for mobile phone, a lot of people looking for mobile phone deals. So even the highest short head keywords here showing kind of the same trend. So you have ads, then you have the direct answers there, and you have a lot of websites having more informational content.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so similar trend for shorthead keywords in comparison queries. So also showing a direct answer box, so highly informational driven intended, searches. And, the takeaway here is to create better answers for users and optimize with direct answers as well. And if you're interested as well, how to come up in the answer box, there is another webinar which I did the other month ago about the title is "Okay Google, how do I get into the answer box?" Just look it up at YouTube, and you will learn about it more. So just to sum everything up, it's very important to research your main keywords, then cluster the keywords within topics, define your target groups along those clusters, and then create content directly for your target group and try to cover all of the demands. Just to mention our new agile content development process here in the Digital Strategies group. So the content marketing service we offer is a new approach we actually came up with from the learnings with clients. So meaning that we invented the content evolution cycle, where when we create content, we will do an SEO checkup beforehand to check if your website is technically okay, and so that the content can succeed. And we will then come up with a dedicated content strategy before we go into the creation, do quality assurance, of course, and then we build a dedicated reporting for just those URLs we created content for, and always try to update the content. As we see from our experience, very, very important to update the content rather than creating different landing pages, just as you mentioned. Please visit our website, which is searchmetrics.com/DSG, and we offer content marketing services, SEO consulting, and strategic consulting. You can request your proof of concept, and we're looking forward to have conversations with you later after this webinar. So there are some questions which I am happy to answer. So could Searchmetrics Digital Strategies Group help to do the same analysis for other businesses?
Of course. Yeah, we did this already for other industries. So this is like another industry we did. So for sure, we can do some analysis for other industries as well.
Do you think it's especially just for transactional businesses or any informational business as well?
I think especially for informational businesses. So for instance, we have a lot of publishers, news websites, e-commerce as well. So based on our experience, we can see they're still missing this top of funnels, for instance. Mm-hmm. So for sure, if you're interested, please go to the searchmetrics.com/DSG and request a proof of concept to us.
Okay, cool. Then there's another question, which is, which methods do you use to do research on the market? Brainstorming in the group or based on tools?
So as you see before, first touch point is, of course, we try to check based on search volume, in this case, what really is user looking for in the specific countries. Then you could, of course, on top, if you have more data from other marketing channels, you can also combine this data to make it more precise.
Mm-hmm. And it's also tools are very helpful, just as our Searchmetrics content experience, they group already, keywords based on intention.
Exactly. Transactional, informational.
Where you almost have actually the sales funnel.
Yeah. Exactly. So this could serve as a base, and of course, if it is not enough, you can still combine this with your other data.
Yeah. Okay, if there are no other questions, then thank you very much for attending this webinar. We hope that you enjoyed it as much as we did.
Yeah.
Thank you, Felix, for the awesome research. And if you want to stay in contact with us, you can search us on LinkedIn, or I'm on Twitter. Björn Beet is the Twitter name. And, happy to answer questions after the webinar, even on Twitter or LinkedIn. So thank you very much. Have a great day and all the best. Bye.